2, 1. Hi everybody, and welcome to the edition of the National RIA. I've got a very special guest to interview today, Kurt Malley. Kurt, thank you for joining us. We really appreciate it.
I appreciate it. Thanks, Sean.
Kurt and I have a long history together, first as competitors and now as partners. And Kurt does a lot of incredible stuff for our business. And to be honest with you guys, I was a little bit nervous about bringing you on because I don't want to get Kurt too busy, because I don't want him to take any focus away from my business, and I don't want to create even more competition for myself, which Kurt kind of tends to want to do for me when he's working with some of our students. So please be gentle with me, and while at the same time, giving our students what they need to know to be successful.
Absolutely.
Now, if you're in Austin, please totally tune out, because because that's where we do most of our investing. But Kurt, I know that you've been a successful real estate investor. I know several people in your family have even been successful in real estate. Tell us about your experience as a real estate investor. Tell us about what you know about real estate investing. What qualifies you to be here and sit here with us and talk to our students about real estate.
Good. So a couple of things. First of all, I appreciate being here. Thank you very much. Yeah, we've known each other for almost 7 years, maybe. I guess we kind of had the whole thing up. Yeah. So what happened is I used to work for like Microsoft and Apple and doing some of the consulting thing. Really just an employee sitting behind a desk. And I decided to get into real estate, right in 2007, which, as you know, was just an amazing time in the market. And I hit it right about here. Notice I didn't say at the top. I hit it as it started to come down. And I didn't know any better. And my dad had retired to Phoenix. He had started doing a lot of investing. He went from a Nebraska, where the appreciation is kind of, like that, out to Phoenix in 2006, 2007, where you'd build a house for 50 grand and would shoot 100 grand. And people were just making ridiculous money. I jumped in. My brother at 21 jumped in down to Phoenix as well. And we really all started investing as a family. Started using some of my credit, some of the money I had, some of our family credit. Built up a nice little empire in Phoenix. And what was interesting is my dad had built large subdevelopments before in Nebraska. Like, that was easy to do. But there was so much money in Phoenix at the top of the market when we didn't know what we were really doing, that you would invest in something, you'd all of a sudden make money, and you're like, everybody can do this.
Right.
So I saw the rise of someone over 30 years, literally in the course of about 2 years when the market was hot, make a ton of money and get, what's the best word to say, seduced in that, hey, it's really easy to make money. And I see him lose everything in about 2008, 2009. 2009, he files bankruptcy. I'm working in here. I had lost some of my credit, so I started doing some owner finance stuff, got connected with a group that really started to understand how you could do owner finance, exactly what you and Phil were doing. And essentially from there, from the learnings of working with you and Phil, meaning Phil and I used to sit on a real estate board together. And I started to watch Phil before he ever started coaching all these people like this. And I'll never forget this. Phil's like, well, why would people want to pay a guru to... Phil just didn't understand. He's like, go out and just do a deal. And I'm like, Phil, it's not that easy. That's when I used to sell some real estate education. So essentially what happens is over the last couple of years is my brother, now 29 years old, has a very successful short sale business out in Phoenix, Arizona.
That's the only kind of successful business you can have in Phoenix, Arizona during this time period, right?
Yeah, what was really interesting is he helped people get mortgages when their houses were just skyrocketing, and he was an agent. And then when the prices dropped, he learned how to do short sales. So he built a short sale business.
So it's kind of cradle to grave, helping your clients.
Well, now what the thing is because properties are selling so fast in Arizona and so fast in Phoenix, he became part of an agent with an agency. And he has his full short sale business, which turns in now he's selling to hedge funds. He's 29 years old, and he sold something like $60 million or something like that in assets last year. He has like 12 employees. And it all comes down from systems. And what I've learned from you that I really kind of want to, as we kind of draw that question to a close, is I watched you and Phil as we kind of competed. But then as Phil started to say, hey, people come out to my house, and I'll give you my contracts, I'll show you what I do. And he just started helping so many people. And I've always told Phil he's the real deal. And I had an opportunity a couple of years ago to say, hey, Phil, I love investing, but I love what you do, and I believe in you and Shano, and I'd love to represent your brand online, and I have certain skills that I would like to apply those skills that I did for my real estate business, for your real estate business and your brand. And now we sit here, I think almost 3.5 years later. I mean, completely, business has changed a ton in the last couple of years.
Yeah, absolutely. So just to let you guys know, we basically handed over a lot of our marketing reins to Kurt. About 3 years ago, he came in. He's like, "Well, I need your credit card information because I'm going to be buying all this pay-per-click traffic to your site." And what did I tell you? You better do this right.
It was the fear. It was the fear of death. Yep. You've ever got that from Chanel? It's a fear of death.
It was a threat, and not veiled. And I was worried about it, and I had some fear about it. And he's done great work for us, and that's one of the reasons why we've been able to maintain our relationship and our partnership together. He knows a lot about generating traffic and about generating leads, which is something that as a real estate every single real estate investor needs. And as the market changes, he's on top of it, and that's one of the things that he's always experimenting with things. And he's always experimenting with my credit card.
I knew that was going to come up.
But I mean, you have to, because this is such a changing
dynamic, very quick changing.
I mean, you're the expert, but you're the expert for one day, and then it changes the next day. Yeah. And what I love about his group and his team is they're constantly staying ahead of it, and they're constantly trying different things to bring in new leads. And we're always reviewing the numbers. He gives me this long, written report. He gives me a video report. Here's how I spent your money this week, and here's how many leads you got from the spend. So I really like that a lot. So you transitioned to social media. What is it about social media? What is it about helping other people? What is it about getting people branded that you really enjoy? I mean, I know you like to work with Phil and I, but what?
So for me, here's what I really understood from. I did a lot of. I'm sure you guys talk about this all the time, but I did a lot of personal coaching, and I know you guys do a lot of coaching with individuals, and I had to really get coached on my right mindset to understand what I really wanted. Like, did I want to do fix and flip? What kind of real estate deals did I do? How did I want to design my lifestyle? And that was the big key for me, is design my lifestyle, which was literally like I could wake up in the morning, I could say, I get someone like Phil and Shanoa, who you guys are really well accomplished, and you started teaching students. Mm-hmm. Why not just work with some individuals that are already doing great things, they're already greatly respected, and I can assist in building that brand from stuff I was doing with my small little brand before that was working, but I can do it on a larger scale. And I don't have to be showing houses at that time. What I can do is I can help with branding and attract people online, because you love to go out and do that stuff and see some of the houses, or you have people in place that do that. Right. So literally I remember, we did that hand-drawn video for Phil. I'm in Greece on a satellite upload connection to the internet. Literally, it's 3:00 in the morning here.
They're rioting or something.
Well, no, we were out in this. Literally, I mean, it was like looked like a pirate ship. There was only 24 couples on board. Okay. So it was this private little ship, and people are upstairs reading their Kindle, and I'm literally downstairs and playing on my computer a little bit, and people are like, "You just can't leave work at home, is that right? You're in Greece." I'm like, "You have no idea. Here's what these guys are doing. I'm able to make money. Like, literally, I paid for my entire Greece trip while I was there by running those promotions." So for me, I can design a lifestyle of what does Shanoa want to do? What does Phil want to do? What do some of our other clients, like we work with professional sports teams, what do you want to do? And then we'll figure out the goal and how it happens. And then what I love working with you guys is you always manage us on the result. Like, you don't care how many Facebook likes you get or what. Right. It's just managed on the result. Right. So if I'm always experimenting with your credit card, but it's learning, and we experiment with our other clients' credit cards as well. Right. And we all use that collective information. And what I love about it is literally you can come to me with a problem like, "Kurt, I'm going to work in Houston. I want to do A, B, and C.
Right.
How do I do it?"
Right.
I'll figure out everything else. We'll make it happen. You write me a check.
One of the things that we say about real estate investing is we find that a lot of people, when they start to be a real estate investor, say, "I'm going to be this lone ranger, right? I'm going to do all the marketing. I'm going to talk to the sellers. I'm going to do all the negotiating. I'm going to take it to the title company. I'm going to figure out all that. When it's, I'm going to rehab the entire house, work with the city, learn how to do all of these different things. Then I'm going to list it myself and put it on the market." The scalability that you have when you're doing all these things all by yourself is like zero. So that's one of the things that Phil and I really believe in. We focus on the things that we absolutely do the best, right?
Absolutely.
And and then we find other people who are the best at what they do, like you guys, and then we hand over the reins so that we can focus on the things that are good for us, that we do really well. And stuff like social media, I mean, I can barely log into my Facebook account. I mean, the truth is, like, I have to sometimes call Kurt and ask him what my Facebook login is.
That's true.
Because I mean, so they take care of all of that soup to nuts for us. And then I don't have to be an expert at that. And then I don't have to be on top of all the different changes that are going on in that marketplace. And I can focus on the things that I do really well. And I talk to sellers, motivated sellers,
Absolutely.
really well.
Absolutely.
And so thank you for that. But, can you kind of speak to that too? Like, I'm sure like a lot of your clients say, oh, I was doing this myself, and how do they eventually transition to saying, I want an expert to do it for me. I want someone who's the authority in the area, someone who's keeping up with all the different trends. I mean, I know you're part of, I'm not asking you 25 different questions.
I'm good.
I'm sorry.
I'm paying attention.
I know you're part of probably 3 or 4 different masterminds where you go through and talk about all this stuff. You can't, as a real estate investor, be part of all those different masterminds, and you can't be an expert at everything. Otherwise, you'll absolutely accomplish nothing, and the things that you do accomplish, you won't accomplish them at the rate and speed and the level of success you can when you bring in a partner who can bring in some additional knowledge. So can you talk about, I don't know if there was even a question there.
No, I understand where you're going. So a couple of things, and this is really important to understand. So as an entrepreneur, I own a couple of different businesses for what I do in my niche. But I love watching people like yourself and Phil and other people. How do you make decisions to acquire the wealth that you have right now, right? It's not about how much money you have or how much money you don't or credit. It really comes down to a decision-making process. And I remember we're literally sitting over here at this table, and you and I and Phil are going over some things with the rest of the team. And Phil has this great idea. Phil always has tons of ideas, right? Phil has this great idea. We're going to do A, B, and C. And I'm like, well, how do we do? And then someone else is like, well, how about? And Phil's like, I don't know, that's why I hired you guys. Like, you guys figure out all the details and just come back. But what I noticed in that exact moment, this is super important, is Phil didn't have to control the situation. He wanted to control the result. He didn't control on who did what or how it got done or what the timeline was. He just, here's my idea. Here's how I want it to be completed. I'm going to hire the people to take care of the rest, but I'm not even going to entertain to tell you how to do your job. And it wasn't disrespectful. It taught me a lot, which was learn how to let go and delegate, and that's the only way that you can really scale.
Right.
Now, one of the things that I use with you guys, here's the golden, I mean, literally when I say this, like this is literally the golden tip that if you do it, this is good. This is really easy. Because it's a law of human nature. So one of the things I did for my personal self-development is I worked with a professional profiler. He profiles people, right? And it assists me in judging my marketing, how I market for people. So what I mean by that is I know laws of probability. You're going to hear me say that a lot as you ask me some of these other questions. Laws of probability. Very few people do anything consistently ever.
True. That's true.
People never ever do anything consistently ever.
That's true.
People never ever do anything consistently ever. See, I didn't even put it on my fingers right?
You can't even count consistently.
Yeah, I'm not even doing it consistently. It goes with dieting, it goes with relationships, it goes with marketing. So when I talk to a lot of your students, I used to have, at one time when we started working with each other, when people were doing AMPS deals, I said, hey, I've done a bunch of them. Give me a call if you're looking at buying Phil's program. I'll tell you what the scene looks like 5 or 6 years later.
Right.
If you really have some questions. And people would tell me, Kurt, I just bought this product. I'm trying to do A, B, and C, everything. They're trying to do everything. And I go, look, you got to build a team. And they're like, well, how does that work? Well, you got to build relationships. We kind of talk about building relationships. But the most important thing was, I told people, I go, don't even worry about the strategy. And they're like, but I love AMPS. I love this. I go, Phil's going to agree with me on this if you ask me, who cares about the strategy? You got to put signs in the ground and start marketing on a consistent basis.
Right.
And once your phone rings, you start to answer questions that you can learn from the training. But if you watch all the training and then don't do marketing, it's never going to work.
Right.
And one thing with you and Phil, when we say, spending your credit card every month, you are always consistently marketing.
Yes,
you have never called me and you've never said, I have $1 million property that I'm selling, Kurt, it's going to close. I don't need any marketing for a while. We've never had that conversation.
Never stop marketing. Never. Ever stop marketing.
So consistency is the key because no one ever does anything consistently ever. So what I do, except you guys, because you've hired me.
Yeah.
And this is, and literally I show people how they can do this on their own, but I work on laws of probability. This is what the professional profiler does when he's talking to someone. He does an analysis. Nothing exists unless it can be analyzed, right? It's not like what's 1 + 1, it's 2. How does Shanoa feel about her hair today? We can't verify it, can't analyze it, right?
I think I'm looking good. Go on.
So what happens is the laws of probability, I know most investors do exactly what you just said. They work on everything at once.
Right.
So I know the laws of probability.
Which creates an opportunity for them to stop working on the most important things.
Huge.
Yeah.
So that allows competition, or me.
Right.
I know nobody does YouTube videos. Nobody. And if we do just a couple, in a local market, like if you're in Cleveland and you do 5 or 6 videos with an iPhone, or like what we do here off of a laptop, and you say, hey, I'm in Cleveland, I buy houses, and there's a couple of other tips that you give out. Oh my goodness, I'm sure you've seen it before. I know you have. I have when I would do videos. You go out to public events and people are like, I know you.
Right.
I've seen so many of your videos.
Right.
But your competition doesn't do it. The reason is because they're like, I don't know how to do video. What does it look like? How expensive is it? What do I have to do?
Post it. Yeah.
Laws of probability.
Yeah.
Because of all these different
What
things,
are
you're not
all the
going to do it.
different keywords and phrases that I have to put in there so that I actually show up where I want to show up?
So it's the same thing as like buying a real estate program or getting in a strategy where you're like, oh my God, I got to do everything. I can never do everything. Phil says this all the time, and I learned this from Phil. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. Right. So if I just look at the small process, like what I've seen Phil do and how you guys are growing your business, is what information do I start with in the beginning? Always start marketing. Either figure out how to do it on my own or figure out someone else who's going to do it for me. But I have to be consistent. And anytime I stop being consistent, my competition advances far ahead. And we've been consistent with you guys for 3 years, and we can see the culmination of everything that's happened.
You know, it's funny. So we're starting real estate markets or real estate investing associations, clubs all over the country right now. And I think a lot of our competition in some of these different markets, are just like back on their heels. Like at first they look at us and say, ha, 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 this will go away, or this is nothing, and then all of a sudden we've got, like in Dallas right now, I think we've got 135 people on our meetup group, and we probably have 200 or 250 opt-ins on our RIA site, and it's happened in about a month and a half.
Less than 45 days.
And I think we probably in our first meeting in Dallas, we had like 90 people there, and it's because of Kurt's ability to put you in all these different places from a social media aspect. Because every day someone wakes up and says, I want to be a real estate investor. Well, I want to be there when they decide that. So Kurt makes sure that I'm there. And then also from, just an investing standpoint too, every day someone wakes up and says, oh crap, I need to sell my house right now. And I want to be there for that too. And Kurt helps me be there. Okay, so one question I have for you, Kurt, and this is a question I've never asked you, but I'm sure that everyone who's listening probably has gotten an email like this, and I want you to kind of like tell me, like, what is someone trying to communicate to me? What value can they bring to me? So as a realtor, as an investor, as someone who I've got my websites all online, I get an email probably once a week that says, I can get your site up to page 1 of Google, and I can make it in the top 3 spots. And did you know that you're not getting X, Y, and Z? And I can do that for you. So how is Black Box Social Media? Black Box Social Media. I don't know if I fully introduced that part, but Black Box Social Media is Kurt's company. So how do you guys compete with that? What is what's really the truth behind that message, and what differentiates you from someone who's like out there sending a message like that to everyone who's online?
Because I see you get these messages all the time because we're copied on similar emails.
Yeah. Sometimes I'll send them to like, Kurt, can you do this for me? And it's like, well, let me explain to you. So
we already
go ahead.
Do. That's usually what I say. We're already doing it right now. So a couple of different things. So let me kind of tell you a little bit about Black Box Social Media. I'll help explain that answer.
You probably get that message for Black Box Social Media too. Ironically,
I love these people. Sometimes I'll get them on Facebook and I'll be like, oh, you're going to help me attract more fans to my fan page. Great. How many do I have? And people, these are essentially, most of the time, honestly, well, let me back.
It's like direct marketing. I mean, it's like direct marketing. I mean,
it is, but it's slimy.
To everybody. Yeah.
It's slimy, and here's why. So let me tell you about Black Box Social Media. So we started this really 3.5 years ago, and what we've done, fast forward 3 years, we've worked with celebrities, reality TV stars, Phil and Shanoa, best-selling authors. Our CEO is a national best-selling author with Dan Kennedy. I'll show you how to get that book later. But essentially, we work with pro sports teams like the San Antonio Spurs, Austin Toros. Right. And the reason I say this is we work with so many different brands, billiard tables. I'm working with some guy who's a survival expert. I mean, there's all these different niches we work with, and we're a small agency, so we're very selective on who we work with. It's all about relationships. Huge key in real estate, it's all about relationships. Someone once told me, a customer who was going to be a customer of your guys, he's like, I don't like talking to people. I don't even like people. And I'm like, you shouldn't really be in real estate.
Right.
I talked him out of being in real estate. I'm like, you don't like just...
Right.
So, but essentially what happens is we've built this micro business, it's become a much bigger business, but we've used the same strategies that we use for Phil and Chenoa with an oil company, with a billiard shop here in town, with a survival school,
so
with a celebrity.
The foundation, the fundamentals, the principles are pretty much the same throughout.
Yes, but I stole your line that you gave me a couple years ago, which is, it's all in there, like the Prego, right?
Oh, yeah.
Is the common ingredient in our secret sauce is consistency and applying these consistent principles that we know that works with all these others to social media. So what happens is, that's really important is why would people, trust us to help them, and why would these SEO people write in? Well, we know the secret of the sauce that works consistently. And I always ask people, well, how do you monitor your results? Here's what always happens when I talk to clients, always. Let's say realtor, right? Realtor gets in real estate investing, and they go, Kurt, how am I going to advertise online? How do you get most of your business now? Well, I don't know, roadside signs? No, you don't. Let's be honest. Where's most of your business right now? If you're a realtor and you've been doing it for a while. Referrals.
Right.
We're going to show you how to do that exact same thing online. Everything that you do offline, you can do the exact same thing online. It just requires a skill set. Here's the thing. SEO, SMO, PPC, CPV, people are like, what the heck is that? So when people write in and say, hey, I can do these SEO services that's going to give you this conversion, people are like, I don't know what that means, but I think I need to spend money.
Right.
And honestly, the reason we create a black box is because people don't know how to quantify it, they don't know what to look for, they don't know what to do, and we're here to assist. So when you get these emails, so what's the result that they're going to get for you? What are some of the examples that they have? So people ask me all the time, Kurt, I can do this for black box. Really? I don't really need to be on first page because I'm not looking for hundreds of thousands of customers. Let's be honest. For the leads that you get, for quality conversations, for dealing with real estate deals, for even the level you guys do now, do you require 100 quality conversations a month for you to do the level of deals that you do, or do you require like 20 or 30 conversations? Good quality conversations.
So I would say less, but one of the things that we've done to sort of multiply that effort is our real estate investing club, and that's one of the reasons why we're doing it all over the country.
That's what I was just going to say.
That's, just running that club, I always kind of joke, it's a lost leader for me, but it's a lost leader for a ton of different leads that I can go out and make money on. And that's what that's what I love about it. And I can get all of these leads, meaning all these investors who want to sign up for our club, in my sleep. The more business that I can do in my sleep, the happier I'm going to be, and probably the same for you guys too.
Well, yeah, so here's the way that it works, and I love how you say a lost leader, because I know everything's run as a silo, and you're like, but hey, we don't spend much money advertising. Comparatively to what we spend. I know. What we spend. So even before you guys got into real estate education or anything else like that, and you were running the club here, and Phil was with me at the other club.
Right.
Just that alone, when you say 90 people show up to a real estate meeting, and I'm going to give some people some tips on how to do the same, but when 90 people show up to you for a real estate meeting, even if you're not selling real estate education, what does that mean for you for connections, for deals and stuff like that? To put 90 people in a room in less than 45 days, just to network to do deals.
It's amazing because every time I do that, I get at least one lead, and sometimes 3 to 5 leads, just because someone has something that they think is a deal. They don't really know how to do it. Well, I've got strategies out the wazoo, and I've got resources and capital out the wazoo, so I can make that deal happen, whereas that other new investor can't.
Absolutely.
And I'm willing, to partner, with my students, and that's what makes running a real estate club very beneficial to me and very profitable to me. In fact, I see a lot of people who are getting out of the real estate club business because they don't know how to monetize it, because they don't know how to create relationships, because they can't be consistent about it too.
Yep.
So I think it's all the things that you've addressed there. So I'm sorry, I've answered, but you were going to go someplace else with your...
Well, yeah, because the other thing is, though, too, is when we talk about putting 90 people in a room, we spend under $500 doing it. I'm just going to be very open with it.
I think you spent like $350 doing it, yeah.
Setting up a meetup is free. Here's the best advice that I can give anybody who's watching this right now you're watching this because you want to be part of a REIA, right? That's the whole reason that people are watching this, which is great. There are people, and Phil says this and Chenoa does all the time, people wake up every day and say, I want to be a real estate investor.
Right.
I read this book, this purple book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, or I read this, like I just want to be a real estate investor. I don't know what, I want to get out of my job.
Right.
There are meetups right now that you can join, like just like we've set up for Dallas and Houston, to go out and see other investors, just to meet with people. See, here's what I learned from the real estate club. This is how I got to know Phil and really why I'm sitting here. Someone told me a long time ago, they go, Kurt, go out and volunteer for a real estate club. They go, you have to volunteer. And I go, why? Because you're looked at laws of probability.
Sure.
Sitting behind a desk, you look like you have a little bit more authority.
Right.
I had never really done many deals. I was just asked because I asked to volunteer. The guy wanted some help. Phil was sitting on the board of directors. I thought it would be a good idea. And I remember we would sit through these early real estate meetings, and some of these wouldn't go anywhere with the class club that we were in. It's just kind of funny. However, I would ask Phil one question in these 2.5-hour meetings. And the gold that would come out of his mouth for 30 seconds would change my business. Like literally, and I would sit through these meetings for 2 hours just to have Phil say this, but I would consistently show up to the meetings. I would consistently volunteer. Mm-hmm. That volunteer led me to over other investors and how I networked. It let me spend more time with Phil, who gave me some great insight where I wanted to help Phil as much as I could. I wanted to be reciprocal, and that's why we're here today. But it all comes with relationships.
So part of why I'm here today is because in 2004, I was asked to volunteer to be the membership coordinator for
really?
Yes.
I did not know that.
Yeah, so they asked me in 2004, I guess they thought I looked responsible or something. And then I went from membership coordinator to like vice president to president to president. And then it's like, Phil, I can't be president. You know, you got to be president. And then we actually ended up buying that club. Yeah. But that's exactly where I started. And I started by, you know, getting everyone's card who walked in the door, meeting every single person. I mean, I knew everybody. Huge. And I mean, I knew him like visually. I knew him by name. And that was it. I mean, that was the start of it, to be perfectly honest with you.
So, same thing. Go to Meetup. It's free to join. And you know, one of the things that I did that really helped my business, because you guys already had the club going on, and I was helping out with the club as well, is I decided, you know what, I want to kind of get my own good old boys network. And what I want to do is I'm going to have, I love Mexican food. So there's this Mexican buffet that I love. I'm a big guy. I like that stuff. And what I ended up doing is I set up a Meetup. Costs like, I don't know, $20 a year or something like that. And I said, hey, come meet for coffee. Yeah. And here's the exact structure. 11:30, we tell people to show up at 11:30 to noon, people are getting coffee, food, whatever, chit-chatting. And then at 12 o'clock we start, and we'd introduce ourselves. Here's the exact thing. We'd introduce ourselves. Who are you? What do you do? What do you offer? And what are you looking for?
What do you want? What do you need? Yeah.
And that's it. And there'd be 3 or 4 people sitting around the room consistently. So we get 3 or 4, 7 or 8. Sometimes the market, things change, people's lives change. We'd have 40 people around the table. We'd have to move to another restaurant.
Right. It'd
go down to 10. Well, there's a group that I handed off about 2 years ago, because I started working on this more, that they dwindled down to about 3 people after I left, 3 or 4 people. Now they're up to 45. Mm-hmm. But they consistently went there. Right. Over the years, they built a relationship. Right. They show up. Well, you know Harold McGee?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Harold knows everybody because he's been here forever. Right. And he goes to networking events. He comes out to the RIA Club.
Right.
But Harold consistently shows up at places.
Yep.
And most people don't do that. Now, if you use that same consistency to show up on Facebook, or when you show up on video, and we can get more into the details here later, but when you consistently show up more, people love consistency. You know, I mean, obviously you guys have a child, which is you get them on a consistent schedule, to do consistent things. It's all about consistency as a kid, as you raise them, you try the best that you possibly can. But people don't treat their business the exact same way. You guys do, and that's why we can see that you've done really well with it. But most people don't consistently address it. So if you consistently go to networking events and meet people, or you decide to have a small meetup where it's just people inside for coffee, there's other people like you that want to meet up and just hang out and talk about deals. And eventually, I mean, we just spent a little bit of money. The possibility is 90 people in a room for the very first meetup. Heck, you only need 3 or 4, a couple of good quality conversations a month. You don't need thousands.
That's right.
Just a couple of quality conversations. That's it.
That's right. I totally agree. So tell me about like this idea that you build it and they will come. So I hear people say, well, I have a website. Well, whoop-de-doo, right? So yes, now everybody has a website. So kind of talk us through like why just having a website isn't enough, why you have to talk to us about driving traffic to a website so that
Sure.
that it does something for you. I'll be honest with you guys. I had so I'm a realtor and a broker. That's probably 5 to 10% of my total business. But I felt like I have to have a website, right? I'm a realtor and a broker. But I never did anything to try and drive traffic to it. It was just sitting out there and not really doing for me what I wanted it to do. So it was kind of a disappointment to me. But it was a disappointment because I wasn't doing the marketing for it. Talk about sort of changing someone's mindset so that they understand that it's not just about like doing, you just don't do that one thing and then you're like magically have a lot of business.
Yeah. We'll give excuse me. I'll give a video. I actually made a 45-minute video of this that kind of explains the entire thing. I'll give people access for free. I mean, it's one of the things we want to do for you guys anyway. We'll give that more towards the end. But basically, here's the way that it works. Google itself, I like to say the Google, right? So people all know what Google is. Everybody uses Google. And what happens with Google is people will type in, buy my house. Here's a perfect Google search. Type in, buy my house. Comes up, you click on one of the first links, you go to the second web page, you look at the second web page, that's good, you close it out, you don't go back to Google. Google tracks that. That's a perfect search result. Well, if you type in sell my house and you go down and you click a button or click a link, opens up a page and you're like, this is not what I want, this is someplace in China. Close out that page, go back to Google. Right. Google knows that's not a very good result. Mm-hmm. So people used to say, well, hey, I'm going to go ahead and here's the analogy I always use. I'm going to build a website. It's like a billboard on the superhighway. Everybody's going to see it. Well, that used to be the case. No one does anything consistently. Well, it's very easy. Literally, there are programs now. You guys even have one of them. Hit these buttons, website's up.
Right.
Anybody can build a website today.
Right.
Anybody.
Right.
So it really doesn't mean anything, right? Anybody can count straws. So if we put out hundreds of thousands of straws, which one do you want to choose? Who cares? I don't have to search through any of them. I'm just going to pick any one of them, right? They're a dime a dozen. So Google doesn't pick up these dime a dozen sites.
Right.
It's just remember you used to have the brochure look online, right? I just want a web presence.
Right.
So now I'm going to just be completely truthful. My brother in a short sale business, he's just now designing his website. He has not had a website for 3.5 years at all. So when people say I have to have a website before I market, not even close.
You have to have a phone.
Yeah. You don't really have to have anything else, right? But for the website itself, Google looks at a couple of things. How consistently are you updating information? Because nobody does anything consistently ever. So it's going to make it a little bit higher probability that your website comes up a little bit higher in Google. Mm-hmm. Now, Google is changing their algorithm, the mathematical equation that basically says what website shows up to the top of Google.
This is where I tune out and just let him do his thing, but I'll go ahead and let you explain. Go ahead.
Well, this is why she just writes me a check. It's a lot easier. But essentially this is super important for you to understand. This is why we created a video at this. So right now, today's market, let's talk about Google today, not 5 years ago. Build a website, it's like building an island. That's it. You put your business on that island, that's your website. There's an ocean around you called the internet. No one's seeing you, no one's coming by. And what you start doing is you start building backlinks. And what backlinks are for people to find your site is essentially YouTube. I'm going to do a YouTube video that makes a bridge to my little island. Mm-hmm. I'm going to get on Facebook and I'm going to talk about my business, and that's going to build a little bridge to get people over to my island, my website. And then what people are going to do is maybe I'm going to write some articles, and that's going to build another bridge to their website. Right. And what happens is
press releases.
Doing press releases, absolutely. Oh, by the way, I'm going to show people how to write free press releases as well.
Okay.
We're giving away the book.
Good.
So when they do what Google looks at is they're like, oh wait, this is an island. It's connected with these bridges. So it must be relevant because it's being constantly updated and people are coming here. Mm-hmm. So people are like, I need to get 10,000 people to my website. No, you don't. You need like 30 or 40 on a weekly basis and 1 or 2 quality conversations.
Right.
So you got to just work the numbers down. And essentially what happens is, can you just do just a website and leave it alone today? You can't. You have to be advertising the website on different places, building those bridges to come back to that island. You have to be active on social media.
I mean, the only time you can do that is if you don't have any competition, right? But as a real estate investor,
Google's not going to find you.
As a real estate investor, there's a ton of competition.
Mm-hmm.
And so you've always got to be, change, like they're always asking me, I want you to film a new video this week, talk about wholesaling, this week talk about short sales, this week talk about, helping a homeowner who's in foreclosure. So you're always doing stuff to, if you have other competition, you always have to do stuff because other people are coming in, even though they're coming in inconsistently. If you're consistently doing that, that's where that presence is made, and that's where that lasting impression. I mean, Coca-Cola, right? Everyone knows who Coca-Cola is. Everyone drinks Coca-Cola, but they never stop advertising. They probably have $1 billion advertising budget. And it's not just because they're in competition with Pepsi, but I mean, partially it is, but it's they have to keep on reminding people and building that presence.
Yeah, so one of the things we talk about on Facebook, people always ask me, Kurt, do I need a business page, personal page? If you're just
page,
what do I need to do? Oh my God, I'm confused. Let me give you a simple answer. Just work on your personal page right now. That's all you need to do. Now, there's an old radio adage that we apply to Shinoa's business and Phil's all the time. And the old radio adage is, you want people to see you or your brand 7 times within 7 nights of sleep or 7 nights of rest. Every time that you sleep, your subconscious filters out all the different advertising you see through the day. So Coca-Cola, if you see that image 7 different times throughout the 7 days of your brain, kind of resetting, kind of embeds in your brain a little bit. So if you're following Phil, you probably see a lot of Phil's ads, and you notice that Phil does a lot.
Right.
So what you do on your personal page is most people spam their page. I'm a realtor,
right.
Buy this house, sell this house. No one cares about that. Here's a good example. Go to Phil's fan page, right? Phil Grove, look at his fan page.
Right.
We do a lot of try to sell this house. It's like a house hanging over a cliff.
Right.
Or how would you caption this picture of a house? And we make it really fun because, let's be honest.
Phil says, I have no idea where Kurt gets all this stuff. But it's like, people really like it. And like one thing you put out there had like 65 comments. It's like, oh my gosh. So, I mean, just that interaction is
so let me just ask you this.
Yeah.
When you decide to log into Facebook, when you do, what do you honestly log into Facebook for?
So I don't do it for business. Sometimes I'll do it to kind of catch up with some friends. Like I'm visiting a girlfriend in Houston that I haven't seen in 5 years, and I'm finding her on Facebook, and that's sort of what I'm doing that for.
Everybody says pretty much the same thing when I ask that question. Ask yourself. So I'm going to ask you, why do you go to Facebook? People don't go to Facebook like they go to Google to buy something or look up information.
Right.
They go to catch up, like you just said.
Right.
So what most people do wrong on their own personal page, first of all, they start a fan page. You don't need a fan page until you have a larger brand. You just don't require it. You just don't. I don't care if anybody else tells you.
So you'll know when you need that when you probably get up to like 2,500 friends, because Facebook only allows like 5,000 friends.
Only allows 5,000.
So you'll want to start thinking about that because...
Honestly though, like my brother in Nebraska, my middle brother, he owns a marketing firm, and he has like 800 people who follow him on Twitter, and he has like 1,000 Facebook friends. And he always goes
to the right people.
He always goes to events, and people are like, well, you don't have that many. And he's like,
doesn't matter.
I just type in a sentence of like, I would like a recommendation of.
Right.
That's all that matters.
Right.
So what you want people to do is when you like Phil's fan page, for example, people will say, oh, Phil, I loved when you. And what happens is they're engaging because they're just updating and looking at what friends do. So we're not disrupting that pattern, laws of probability.
Right.
We're showing pictures that are fun and engaging and interacting. And then what happens is every once in a while we'll slip in something that has something to do with sales or real estate or whatnot. Mm-hmm. But most people are like, oh my goodness, Phil, I always see you online. A friend of mine wanted to get in real estate investing. It made me think of you and that's your real estate investing business. So I'm going to give you a real quick formula.
And even a friend of mine needs some help. Can you?
That's it.
Yeah.
So write this down. One of the most important things you can do. Nobody does anything consistently. Here's one of the golden plans, which is it's called a 10-4-1. 10-4-1. When you do post, you can post once or twice a day, 3 times a day, once every other day. Just be consistent. And you'll find out on the laws of probability on how many people like and comment. But remember, most people are voyeurs, so they're going to watch.
Right.
They're not going to engage. They're not going to say anything, but they will come up to you and say, Chanel, I've been following you for 4 months. What are you guys doing?
Right.
Always happens. So 10-4-1. Your 10 posts, these are fun, exciting. Look at Phil's fan page. For example, like a caption, how would you sell this house? What kind of bike is this? It's getting people to engage, and it's just fun. And by the way, you can copy some of Phil's stuff, share it, copy it, use it as your own, right? You're not stealing anything. You're just saying, hey, I found this image, made me think of Monday. 10 fun, exciting posts that have nothing to do about your business.
Right.
Nothing.
Right.
4 posts are going to be around kind of your business. Hey, we noticed the real estate market has gone up just a little bit in Austin. Great. So 10 posts, fun and exciting. 4 posts, a little bit about your business. And then 1 is your sale.
Right.
So we'll do pictures of real estate and events and caption this on some of your fan pages. And then what we'll do is we'll say, hey, we have an upcoming event, just to let you guys know, and kind of talking about what's going to happen or what the real estate market's like in that area. And then we say, here's our event, you got to come to our event.
Right.
And, or here, I just listed a house. So if you're a real estate agent and you're an investor, I'll give people this real quick tip. It's all about perception online, right? And I always say this when I do trainings, and you've heard me say this lots of times before. It's like Alfred Hitchcock, what is it, the Psycho, the girl's gonna get murdered in the shower with the knife, and the silhouette, and everybody's like, oh yeah, like lots of people have not seen the movie, but they know what that scene is, right? You never see the girl get stabbed, ever. Your brain, your perception makes it much better or worse than it ever could be written or seen. Right. So you use that in social media. So when I was in real estate, I'd go to Phoenix to see my brother, I'd take a picture of a house and be like, there's great short sale deals here. Then I'd go to Florida to see a friend of mine that I vacation anyway, took a picture of a house right next to her, and I'm like, wow, look at this thing, they're $450,000 in Florida. This is $200,000 in Austin. And then I go see my mom in Nebraska, and I take a picture of the lake house. And then I go back to Austin and take a picture of another house. And this is over the course of 2 or 3 months. I meet people who don't comment or like, right. Kurt, you were buying houses all over the U.S. How in the heck are you doing it? I never said I was buying or selling houses. I just took. But that's part of me talking about my business of the 10-4-1. Those are the 10 funny posts, motivational phrases. Again, look at Phil's fan page. And then I'd start taking pictures of those houses on and make little comments, let people make up whatever they want. And then I'd have my business post of, hey, I'm buying or selling this property. Cool. That's it.
So back to my list of questions here. Let's see what I got here. I think you've already covered this, but just in one word, why do some investors succeed and why do others fail?
Honestly, I'll give you 2 things. Consistency, and most important of them, I say this a lot, is the stuff stuck between people's own ears. Like, the one thing I love about Phil that I've learned a ton from Phil is, it's not that hard. What do you mean it's not that hard? Like, I got to set up this LLC, I got to do this marketing, I got to learn this. He's like, no, you just put a sign in the yard, and then you start to try to sell the house. Or you put a sign in the yard and you try to get a lead. You don't need an LLC until you do X, Y, and Z deal. Keep it really simple. Right. How do you eat an elephant? Small little bites. So most people live in their own head of, I got to do all this, take small little bites, apply it consistently, and build. That's it.
What is the mindset that you typically have to break someone of when they first become a client of yours?
This is interesting because I learned this from a lot of you guys as students as well, but for some of the other students I've worked with, is so we're selective on the people that we work with. We don't advertise our business. It's only word of mouth. Like, we have a website and stuff because people expect it, but I don't optimize my site because I don't require hundreds of leads. I just require a conversation like this. Mm-hmm. You have to have a very good relationship with money to work with us. And I tell clients this directly. You guys have a great relationship with money. Mm-hmm. I don't hear you say mine a lot. Like, I need this is mine, what about this? What it is. Feels like, I don't know what it's like until we test. Here's my credit card. And you say, Kurt, I'm going to hold you accountable. And feels like, spend money and test. And you're like, I'm going to hold you accountable. But that's the relationship and trust that we've built. Sure. So a lot of people have a really weird relationship with money, period. I just had this conversation with my mom over the weekend. We have this neighbor at this lake house my mom has. And this neighbor, they make a good amount of money. And they're selling their lake house. And they're giving some of their stuff away. Like, oh, if you want to take my speedboat, take it anytime. Oh, hey, this big trampoline that we have on the water, it was like $300. We'd love for you to have it. Now, I knew it was $300. They never said it was $300, right. But they had a relationship with my mom that they trusted her, that instead of taking it down, what so many people get involved with because they sit around, the financial table, they have 10,000 meals with their financial advisor before they're 18. Something like that is your financial advisor is basically, you learn your money relationship from your parents, and how your parents, who raised you, is typically what your relationship is with money. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of people who will say, I don't have enough, so I can't. And Phil and you will always say, how do I pay for it? Or what do I do to make this money? Mm-hmm. If I need to make $20,000 by the end of the month, what steps do I need to do to make that versus I don't have money and I can't do this? Mm-hmm. So it depends on your financial set. It doesn't matter if you don't have any money or you have a lot of money. Your relationship with money is really important. And that is, I need to test. I need to do it consistently. I need to verify the results. I always say this. Chanel, we spent money on your credit card, but we gave you a successful result. We successfully proved it didn't work, or we successfully proved that it did. And when people have emotions of an open loop of why did this happen? I don't understand. Why is this happening to me? I'm broke. It's because they haven't set up and said, what specifically happened? What did I do to improve? And what do I do better next time? And this can apply with only $100 you have for marketing, $1,000, but it becomes relationship with money and literally being very analytical on yourself. So we're really picky about clients we work with.
This is a mindset that I've got to break a lot of investors of. I spend money to make money. I see other people that are doing things to save money.
I love this
very, very, very rarely try to do things to save money because I'm too busy trying to do things to make money. And that's just a mindset shift that it takes a lot of people a long time to do.
Does.
I mean, it took me, time to do it too.
It did.
But that's been sort of, a miracle elixir for me to just kind of let go of some things, give the reins to someone who gets it, who's understanding it, who understands it, who does it every day, and spend money to make money. And that's just a totally different mindset.
I think what's interesting that I found with a lot of students when you say spend money to make money is they don't understand what that necessarily means because they don't quantify the results and look at the results. So it's really super important to understand is you never start marketing. I was working with a small business here. We were running some pay-per-click on Google for them. And they're like, Kurt, times are really tough this season. We need to cut all marketing right now. And I go, I'll never forget this line one of my former bosses told me. He goes, cutting marketing is kind of like dieting and not eating. You can absolutely not eat for a couple of days and you will die. And so will your business.
Right.
So if you can say, I put out 50 yard signs and you go through the equation, here's how much money I spent, here's how I quantified how many people called, and that did not work for me. Then you spend $100 or $300 finding out what didn't work. Remember that.
Right.
Then you go to the next step. But you're always investing, and once you find out, like with you guys, when we put in $1 and we make $1.02, oh my goodness, we're making a little bit of money. We're making a little bit of money. You get to $1.02, now you can put in $1 and you get $3, we're making a lot of money. But we never know that unless we track our results. Right. Most investors don't track the results because of the relationship with money. So when someone's like, I need to cut out the budget, that's good. Cut out where you see fat that didn't successfully work. And what is working, but you have to consistently test. And when you don't, laws of probability, your competition doesn't like to go through the pain of testing. Their relationship with money is a little bit different. Use these skills to understand the laws of probability. If you're doing some of these small things that we're talking about consistently, you are light years ahead of your competition. Light years.
Good advice. Give us 3 tips for a new real estate investor getting started, setting up their brand, thinking about social media, whether or not they should go down that path and sort of build that online brand. Give us 3 tips for someone who's just getting started.
So this is really good. So one of the things we were talking about, I'm going to step back for a second. One of the things we were talking about was...
Have you noticed everything he says is really good? So everything he says is really good. So go.
I'm going to write that down. It's really good. I'll quote you on that. That'll be part of your testimonial.
There you go.
So let's go back and talk about Google for a second. So Google, essentially you would type in a keyword, pull you up a certain result. And what Google wants to do is they want you, the consumer, to get local results. So if you type in, sell my house in Austin, you're not going to get advertisements for stuff in Houston, and you're not going to get content. So see, Google's starting to now filter this all down really to the local market.
Right.
Now the other filter that they have is there's lots of people who like to game the system, kind of like gaming a slot machine. There are people in China who advertise locally with these spam phone numbers, blah, 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 and they try to beat Google's system.
Right.
So Google has found a way to have people not beat their system because remember I said they want to give you a perfect search result. Click once, perfect search result. So what they've done is they found out people on social media who like each other's posts and communicate inside of their clicks, right? Because even as an adult or even as a kid, you had your own circle of friends you ran with. That's more influential than the very first page on Google, and they realized that. So Google has started to take a look, and they're like, okay, let's take a look at this. If you have a Gmail account, which most people do, if you have a Gmail account, you're already signed a user agreement that says you are a part of Google+, you're a part of YouTube, any property that Google owns, you are now a part of. So as you send and receive emails, we do this with Phil all the time, but as you start sending and receiving emails, if you have a YouTube channel, literally a YouTube channel, and you put up a couple of YouTube videos, YouTube and Google will recognize that you have friends who have seen that YouTube video who have Gmail addresses. If you start up on Google+, it's just like a Facebook account, but you are feeding information into Google. And no one consistently posts on Google+ as a real estate investor.
Right.
But if you have a small circle of friends on Facebook. That's all you have. 300 people. Great. Start doing that 10-4-1 strategy, right? Start seeing how people engage. Look what Phil's doing on his post. You can copy some of those posts. You want people to be, hey, you want, excuse me, you want the perfect scenario for someone to be, man, I got to sell my house. Chanel was like, hey, you know what? Kurt's been looking at lots of different houses. I know he's a real estate investor. Maybe you should talk to Kurt. Because you get most of your business from referrals. So allow that referrals to open up on side of Facebook. Now, as you're posting this consistent content on Facebook, if you do a couple of YouTube videos, I'll give you some easy tips on how to do that. You do a couple of YouTube videos, and let's say you start a Google Plus account. By the way, if you're a local real estate investor, you have to get on Google Plus. You have to. The reason is because like we've done with you, we put in your address so people.
And local.
Yeah. So when people look in their GPS.
Yeah.
Exactly. So you register your business right there and you're updating that business listing. So when people are looking to sell your house, what's going to happen is you have a business listing.
I hope you guys are taking notes on this.
Oh, this is really good.
These are the things that you need to be doing.
This is what we charge 1,500 people to do.
I'm even like taking some mental notes of some things that I want, to change and to add. So this is like the Google Places,
it's really important.
That's huge.
So let me give you a golden tip here. So what happens is when someone goes to Google and they say, sell my house Austin, Google is going to look for what are all the local companies, what are the companies that are registered on Google, so laws of probability. What are the companies that are registered on Google Places? How many companies actually have someone who has come and giving a ratings and review? You've seen the 5 stars, right? Yeah. You get 3 or 4 of your family members to say, I would definitely work with Kurt, it's great, right? But you can, because your competitors aren't asking, and no one ever wants to be the first, ever. So if they find that you have 10 people who have liked to do business with you, most of your competitors are going to have 1 or 2. People are going to say, why does this person have 10 and this one person has 1? Just because you asked.
Right.
Laws of probability.
Yeah, I ask all the time.
Always.
Yeah.
So what happens?
But what's crazy about that is I ask all the time, like for people in my Austin real estate investing club, and I've probably got like 10 reviews, but I know people people like come to me in other different places and say, oh, I love it. I'm like, oh, can you go and say that on my meetup group? Can you go and say that on my, Google Places? Can you go and say that all these different places? And you have to actually, like, here's a link where you can do this. You have to set them up to where it's easy for them to do that so that they will do this for you.
Well, at the end of the day, quite honestly, it's because you ask.
Yeah.
Most businesses, they don't ask. And I'm like, you don't understand. Laws of probability, your competition maybe has 1 or 2. Honestly, all the small businesses I work with, and please take note of this, all the small businesses I work with, you got to understand Google Places already usually has your business information if it's been open a couple of years. But what happens is Google, because they want to give local relevant results of people who engage with one another, Google will pull from these big data houses. So if you've registered your business for 3 or 4 years, it may show up on Google Places. But very few people claim that place. So you got to go on and register and say, hey, this is my business. Here's my business address. You got to claim it.
Right.
So we're working from the laws of probability. Most people don't claim it. A lot of small businesses will have their listing up there and they didn't even claim it, or they did a long time ago, and someone will come up and write a stupid comment. I hate you guys. It's not even anybody they've ever done business with.
Okay.
But then they leave it there.
Yeah.
They don't even look.
Right.
So I tell businesses, and I'm like, did you know these comments are here? And they're like, well, yeah, we had a problem a year ago. And this is like someone taking spray paint and spray painting the outside of your building.
Right.
And you're like, oh, I'm just going to ignore it for a while.
And I'll tell you, I get calls all the time from other investors, and I got a call from one recently, and I was curious about this person, and I Googled him, and I saw that exact same thing, and it's like, so now my opinion of that person, I'm very wary of that person, and I'm not like excited about engaging with him and doing business with him, because this person actually wrote a really long, diatribe about it, which was not cool. But that has to be managed for you, so that someone like me doesn't, when you call me, I don't look you up and say, this person is either non-existent or this person has a really crappy reputation, and I don't want to be part of that. I don't want to be associated with that.
So this is super important to understand, because this all comes through. So Google's looking for personal relationships where people are engaging. If you are comment on a friend's YouTube video and that shows up on your Facebook because you decided to comment on it, right? Google's paying attention to all of this. Now, Google can't see inside of Facebook what's going on, but they're really interested on what's going on. Like, they can see that you're with Facebook,
right,
but they can't see. Google can't see your internal post. Now, what you just said is classic with people who are dating, who are getting in business relationships. When I do a joint venture with someone, or I'm going to get in business with someone, heck yeah, I'm going to Google their name,
right,
because anybody can write anything on Google. Anybody.
right.
So I'm going to Google, and especially because I'm in the online space, but I'm going to Google, and that's how we find out about reputations. 30 years ago, we would ask our friends and family members and close acquaintance, what do you think of this person? Now Google can make or break you in just a couple of minutes.
Right.
So if you're consistently posting videos for real estate, maybe it's a walkthrough of a house, maybe you're talking about how you do this. If you are consistently posting on Facebook, if you are consistently posting, Google is a great place to do it on Google Plus with your Google Places. When Shanoa or someone else does a look-see, they don't care about how much experience you have. They see, oh my goodness, they put all this content out there. They must be important, and they must know what they're talking about, and they must keep up their appearance and their brand. Super important. Anybody can do it, and everything I just gave you is absolutely all free. You just have to do it consistently.
So we've got to do a little endo.
That's a skateboard
We're gonna
technique.
do a little endo. We've got to come bring it to a close. Is there any other thoughts that you want to share with our listeners? Any other thing you want to add? I know. So for you guys, we're going to have Kurt work with us over the next week or so, and he's going to be sending out some additional stuff to help you guys get engaged with him to see how he's made us successful. And I know he's actually working with some of our other students throughout the country, and he's doing something with them that I'm actually jealous of. I think you're getting Greg motivated seller leads at like $38 a lead, which is really impressive, guys. So you're going to kind of throughout the next week just kind of come back and just re-engage with our folks so that they know a little bit more about you, a little bit more about what you do, and a little bit more about how Kurt can help you guys who are watching. So is there anything else you want to say, Kurt?
So just a couple of things. So there's a couple of things I want to give you as well. I don't know if there's a button down below or something like that,
okay.
right? We got some gifts. I was told to
Look
give
here.
some gifts. Yeah, wherever that is.
Yeah.
Shanoa's like, what's the link? And I'm like, I don't know. It'll be somewhere on the page. You guys will find it, right? But essentially, here's what it is. Just remember this, and I tell the people this all the time. Your competition and you very rarely do anything consistently ever. You're gonna increase the laws of probability by just taking small little steps. You can apply this. Phil taught me this very early on in your own business. You don't need an LLC. You don't need all this other stuff. Just start very slowly and start being consistent. If you just have your own Facebook personal page, start using the 10-4-1. Well, how do we explain this? We went over a lot of information here. I talk really fast. So in the button down below, you'll see something like when you click on that button, you'll see like a velvet rope. And essentially what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you the following things. Dan Kennedy, one of the best marketers of all time. He does proactive. It's $30,000 a day to hire him. If I remember, you guys had a contest with Phil, one of his students, won a day with Dan Kennedy, which was Nathan did, which was awesome. We co-authored a book with Dan Kennedy. It's a national bestseller. We're going to give you a copy of that ebook, and that's what's going to happen when you opt in the other side. Graph search. You have Google where you type in, you're looking for something. You can start to do that on Facebook now. There was a test that was been run that has just become public and national, like this week.
Okay.
We've already written an ebook and a training on what that means and what it is.
Okay.
So you can literally go in now. This is kind of freaky, but super important. You can go into Facebook and you can type in real estate investor in Austin. And it'll give you a list of people who are real estate investors in Austin that you can connect with.
Wow.
Just imagine Google on Facebook.
Right.
It's kind of creepy, honestly. Like, you can go to a Chinese restaurant. We did this in San Francisco when I was a beta tester. We typed in Chinese restaurant. We saw where all my friends went in and checked in at a Chinese restaurant. So that had a higher probability that we would go there because a lot of my friends had reviewed it versus just having a website. See how important consistency is on Facebook now? Right? So we're going to give you that ebook. I also did a 40-minute video that we'd used one other time for just some selective students that you guys had that explains this whole website, island, consistency, how does that whole thing work? So I'm going to take you step by step. And I'm also going to give you how to do press releases for free. And that is a really great way to get your brand known, how to write them. You'll have all that information. And I think we'll follow up over the week. We'll do some kind of like webinar training just to give people in-depth information if they're interested. But I want to give you all those gifts. Phil and Shanoa have literally changed my life what I've learned from them, what I've seen your students do. Like, I get to capture on video what your students have done.
Right.
And people are like, does Phil really have any examples of deals he's done? Well, I've been to his deals, I've seen his deals, I've talked to his students, and there are hundreds of testimonials that are on his YouTube channel. And that could be your same story as well too. But I want to say thanks again for letting me be here. I want to give everything to your students. You guys are amazing. I've seen this entire thing built literally from this house. And I can't tell you how grateful I am for you, and you're grateful for all your guys' success. And I'm happy to help.
A lot of it we owe to you, Kurt.
High five.
And
I like that.
a lot of it you guys will probably end up owing to Kurt. You can kind of see where, Phil and I love to, share all of our secrets with our students, but Kurt is one of our secrets that I want to share them, but I don't. So, we're really opening up the kimono here by allowing, Kurt to talk to you guys and talk so openly and give away, some of our sort of what I would call like our ninja secrets. And even, and it's not a ninja secret that works today and will work forever. Kurt's a ninja secret that works today, finds out when it stops working, changes it, makes it work again, and just continues to monitor it. And that's one of the things that has made us successful in all of our different businesses.
And I just got to add one other thing too. So just to be perfectly clear, because it is full kimono, is I show a lot of people how to do this on their own and how to make it, condense everything down and do it on their own. To hire me directly can be really expensive, and there's a qualification process. Don't be offended if when you said like a certain price of leads for an individual that I'm working with, right? If I get 500 phone calls, I can't serve all those people, and we have a very good working relationship. Meaning, honestly, we might not speak to each other for 3 to 4 weeks, and you still make money. I know what's going on. You have staff that does. We don't have to meet once a day. There's a whole condition, ebb and flow. Right. So I'm going to show you how to do this on your own. I'm going to give you access how to do a lot of it on your own. If you're looking to work with me directly, I don't do that for many people, and I just want to be very blatant with that. So there may be opportunities, but I don't. It's very difficult to travel to Greece and make money with someone. With Phil and Chanel, it's easy, and that's how I design my lifestyle. And that's the small group of clients I choose to work with. I don't choose to work with 500.
And I will tell you, Kurt, you have not come out to tell me this, but we've had other people that have other service providers to us have told us, Shanoa, stop sending us leads. All of these people just want to, are just tire kickers, right? Don't call Kurt if you're just a tire kicker, right? Don't reach out to him if you're just a tire kicker, because then that will eliminate the opportunity for the people who really want to work with Kurt and really want to engage with Kurt in the same way that Phil and I have. So just like we ask you, to be respectful of Phil and I and our time and of our privacy, we want you to have that same respect for Kurt. Kurt's gonna, like I said, open up the kimono for you and show you a lot of these cool things, which, wow, that's really awesome. But please do, respect his time, because he's busy working for us. No, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed this. Hope you were able to sort of dissect some of the things that we talked about. I know we used a lot of different acronyms. We talked probably about a lot of different stuff that you've never heard of. What I promise you is some of the things that Kurt's going to give away to you guys will help you understand that and help you learn this language and help you maybe put some of this on autopilot, so you can be even more successful in your business. Thank you, Kurt, for joining us. Always love talking to you. And I know all of my students love what you have to say. Just as I'm having a hard time wrapping up here, but every time we invite him to speak at one of our events, like, people cannot get enough of him. I don't know if you know this. Like,
I love to speak. I love this
people
stuff.
Follow him out the door, and he's got a lot of knowledge, a lot of great stuff to say, a lot of great stuff to show you, a lot of great stuff to help you. So thank you for taking the time with us today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
Bye-bye, guys.
See you guys.